voyage through the Bible. We're on a car ferry going between the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and the Lower Peninsula. We're on the Straits of Mackinac. The Lower Peninsula was becoming industrialized so that many people were migrating from the Upper Peninsula to the Lower Peninsula. Of course, in the winter, it becomes very difficult. The ferry doesn't go across very much. Sometimes it even shuts down. The area in between the Upper Peninsula and Lower Peninsula is not extremely wide, and in stormy weather, it becomes quite bad. The Upper Peninsula is affected by lake effect snow from many different directions. The winter snowfall is uniquely large. Early on, the people in Chicago, Milwaukee, and Grand Rapids and Detroit found a place to camp and have summer excursions into the Upper Peninsula. The car ferry had light maintenance in the car ferry, even during the trips back and forth. The ropes, the pulleys, the gears, the things that could break while on traffic going back and forth across the straits. The slight painting could be done in out-of-the-way places, so the maintenance was a continuing thing on the car ferry. The car ferry maintenance group was very small on the boats themselves, but of course they had the main maintenance area at shore where they repaired a ship when it was in need of great repair. Voyaging through the Bible, we have a plan to show you through the stories of the many aspects of God's dealing with the human race, past, present, and future. On the parallel with these stories, we'll be telling you we're going to be discussing the survey of the Christian life. And as we go through these different stories, we will be looking at the enabling power of God to save the worst and the best of all of us. Gideon the Conqueror, Part 2. Midianites could see that the army was disappearing and was falling apart. The 300 held their spears. 300 were given instruments, setting down their spears, a trumpet, a jar, and a torch. These were unique weapons. They're not normal in any way. The Lord encouraged Gideon with three things at this point: fire from the rock, a wet fleece and a dry fleece, and Gideon should be full of faith by now. But the Lord is still patient. You get the picture of us today, how patient the Lord is with us. Gideon is not an exceptional story, except it had a vast ending in this particular segment here. The Lord is patient. In James 1:5, if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who is given generously to all without finding fault, and will give to you. Jesus is our high priest. He is our intercessor. God knows that we are dust in our frame. In Psalms 103:14, for he knows how we are framed, and he remembers that we are dust. He remembers that we are but flesh. He gives more grace in the time when we have need. He gives more promises. In Hebrews 11, it talks about the victories of our faith. Gideon overheard two Midianite soldiers talking about a dream they had had that night. They were close enough to hear, so they were probably on a reconnaissance mission, scouting mission at the time. Jacob had a dream. Joseph had a dream. Mary had a dream. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. Joseph in prison had a dream. And Pilate's wife had a dream. These dreams he dreamed that there were garlic cakes, and it made it clear that Gideon and that God was going to take care of them. God honors faith. Faith is believing the impossible when the impossible is impossible. The declaration is, the Lord has given the Midians into our hands. The instructions are given. Surround the Midian camp at night, blow the trumpet, break the pitcher, let the light shine, and shout, the sword of the Lord in Gideon. Do as I do. The Midianites began to flee. They began to have confusion in the camp. The noise, the lights, the shouts made the Midianites believe they were surrounded. They thought a huge army had snuck up on them, and they began to kill each other in the dark. The two princes of the Midians were now dead, and in the winepress he was called to be a great warrior. In Judges 6:12, when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. In Isaiah 9:4, for as in the days of Midian's defeat, you have shattered the yoke of burden, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of the oppressor. The Lord Almighty will lash them with a whip, and when he strikes down the Midians at the rock of Orb, and he will raise his staff over the waters as he did in Egypt. We'll find out later that they won the war and lost the victory. In chapter 8, they pursued the two kings. They had some difficulty because there was some discipline among the people. The tribes of the Ephraim protested because they weren't wanted to show themselves as important. So the two kings were killed. The Ephraimites at the beginning refused to fight. They didn't know how the battle would turn out. Toward the end, they wanted to fight, and Gideon gave them a soft answer. Let me just make a clear statement. God can take anyone. My grandfather used to have a statement, and I never understood it completely, but you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, out of a pig's ear. And I guess that is the truth. You can only make lemonade if you use water and lemons. That's another truth. And the truth is that each one of us are called of God, and God knows how to give you the proper abilities with it. His strength is strong enough. His ways are wise enough. He can use you in the most profound ways, and just be relaxed. Let the Spirit of the Lord work in your heart. Don't be afraid. Allow courage to flow into you. Be strong in the Lord. So at this point, they weren't called to battle. They had no particular reason to want to help Gideon. After all, he was a farmer. They ended up helping mop up the battle. There could have been great criticism of them, But instead, Gideon even thought that there was an underlying reason for all these feelings. There was a law that was passed later on by King David, and that was that anyone caught helping in the battle would get a reward. So Gideon's decisions, brought unity among the different tribes. The tip of Gad on the east side of Jordan entered into the army and helped with the pursuit of the kings. At some point, they weren't given hospitality. The New Testament talks about hospitality. Romans 12:13 shares with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. In Hebrews 13:2, do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for some people here show hospitality to angels without knowing it. There seemed to be some kind of risk that some of the tribes may retaliate. Gideon returned, you will be disciplined. They pursued the two kings of the Midianites, and the two young men were killed near a tower. And Gideon wanted his son to execute them, but for some reason he didn't have the ability to do it, so someone else had to. At this point, the battle is over. Gideon comes back to this village as a hero's welcome. It would be like in New York, they have the ticker tape parades. It would be the same gesture. They wanted to give Gideon anything he wanted because of the great exploits that had been gotten. Gideon assumed authority. Authority and power given to us by the Lord is important power. Power is should be in the hands of the Lord. The Lord is our authority. All authority is placed under his feet. When Jesus in Matthew 28:18, then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Authority was something that was handed to Gideon. We use authority because it's given to us. And then we turn around and hand what authority we have right back to the Lord. Authority is conferred. Authority is exercised. The person with authority should exercise his authority with certain amount of humility. As it is given, it will be meted out with the same certainty with others.